You never forget the fear.
Seacha bliain ó níthe nacht, níor airg le hoachtar is dahad fille a bhaile tar éis Disco Valentine I dúisgartá clia.
I could never understand why other people got out but not them. They never came home.
Ba polytúil, bín se fisrathe rialtais, ceistena nar freagraíoch.
The truth will come out. Yeah. I know what the truth is.
Feachtas fadan an gáilte sonna garta.
Here is a working class community that feels that if it were located in some other parts of Dublin, they wouldn't be left floundering for answers.
Agus in san seacha bliain ó hin, níl éana freagrach as ceantas na tragódí déana is massa is dar na tíre.
Somebody is responsible for my two sisters' deaths. And we'll explore every single avenue till we get justice.
An ine tíúláideag de fear an 98 héan, drastal os ciún hochia duine anad áitiúil I Disco Valentine I dúisgart na cathrach. Uair a chléigtar éis an bhainíthe agus comórtas rince ag drid am chundedig, chnachas cóirí tinne I gún an chlub.
I remember I was dancing on the floor, I was dancing with a few friends, and then there was an announcement by the DJ to say that there's a small fire in the premise, don't panic.
And then he made another announcement, can everyone kindly make their way to the nearest exit? Because the small little fire had gone into an inferno and it was coming right across the ceiling, down on top of everyone.
Within seconds, it just swept through the whole building. I just said, let's get out of here quick.
And there was a rush to get to the exit doors. Myself and my two sisters and two friends was pushed to the ground.
Within seconds, the lights then went.
There's people, young ones roaring and crying and screaming and just collapsing on the ground, and the crowd wasn't moving.
The people were falling down around me, choking, suffocating. It was just like an oven, like standing in an oven.
We were on the floor, we'd been pushed and we were holding hands. I lost consciousness, and I think my sisters did as well, because we couldn't breathe.
Bhí raircanna anna bhá taobh agus lasmód an Stardust nuair a chuis na thar cháirna agus na henal dótán an láthir. Dénach iireachtaí an tine a chur faoi smacht, agus iad siúd a bhí sáinithe agus muachta in nurchad is an nuirgan a bh chuirt sláán.
There was people on the inside of the toilet windows, banging on them, actually banging and screaming, while burning, there was out.
You could feel yourself burning, it was intense at that stage. I eventually got across to this particular area where I heard a lot of people screaming and kicking, and eventually a door opened up out the back.
The next thing I remember then was being outside the building. An ambulance man came up to me and he said, do you have to go in the ambulance? And I said, no. I said, I can't go. I said, Mary and Martina and Mary Kenny and Helen, they're all in there. He said, everyone's gone, they're all out, they're gone to the hospital.
Le breacha an lé a dúisgart na cathrach, lá éile Valentine 98 héan, chuaigh pobl mágúir dar daine, agus a go tromlathe is massa fíorithe, bhí an náisiún suairte le thuaifáis na nuachta.
At least 40 people have died in a fire which destroyed the Stardust Club at Artane in Dublin early this morning. More than 100 people have been taken to hospital, many of them suffering from serious burns and other injuries. The victims, mainly in their teens.
Níana mé darma there riamh gus a fecant amach muinneog thar an cathair agus déiteach mé tuisgurt an cathrach eáil agus ceapas go raibh hí scáil air. Scamal a bhí an in áir bhís dóga ba ceap gur datach a bhí an go bhéit an fós an datach eáil thar tuisgurt na cathrach. Agus bhí an cathair ciún álas go raibh ga chéine brónach agus I fearra ar an nuacht seo. Agus dar nó I rihan lei go raibh na sonraí a tacht. Bhí na anamnachait agus a ísina cé go ógus a bhí siad. Agus na aglah le na tiismóirí a bhí fósa dul ó ospidéal go ospidéal a lorug a chlán.
And what is the condition of your son in this hospital?
Both his hands are very badly burned, and he's in a complete state of shock, you know. I didn't tell him that the other brother is missing. You know.
So at this stage you don't know where he is?
We don't know where he is, no. I just don't know. I presume he's dead, to be honest with you.
Ní dóna go neanna aondaine a bhí beo an uair sin, darmad go deo ar na rairceanna uafásacha. Is cuminn mar hampla go raibh an eirit sin corp gáúirt ag teachna marmh i lár na carach go raibh a pobl a chur suas taobh hir de heachna marmh agus daoine teacht fechant a bheitadéis a micnú a ninneach nó ngéalta ahand.
Déag hochtar is datha de duine an Stardust a bhar mhór idir 8 bliana diaag agus 5 bliana is fiche. Tuigh go luagar ah ceantas na tragódí déana is massa is stair na tíre tar éis tórlú. Níor a bada an gníomh politiúlaigh tacht.
I knew many of them. They're from all around here, from Donecarney, Artane, Coolock, Beaumont. This is my native parish, and
can you say just how much you know at this stage about the fire and the background to it, Taoiseach?
It's too early yet to come to any conclusion about it.
Sna léanta lean an tobaiste, bhí ráirc na cuine agus folingt nimhnach le feiscinte dúisgur dá clia. Drámóg an cheantar á chuir I gréin na cile.
Ní acha aondaine le clia ná sa tír. Sacradí mar a honigmuid na léanta tar éis an dóitang sa Stardust. Mar ní bháin gur daoine gá gur an éilecha lá ní lé ach gur bert na trúr, drifúracha, dritharacha, lán teile a folingt agus ag olagón.
Death is always hard, but there seems to be something almost unnatural about parents who bury their children. They were called home early by God.
It's heartbreaking, really and truly heartbreaking to talk about. Dreadful it is. The kids just can't talk, they just look at one another and cry. Nobody has any idea of the tragedy.
I grew up with people that have been killed. I went to school with them. They're gone. I've seen them in the disco that night and been talking to them. And you don't go into a disco and say to yourself, you're not going to come out of it. It hasn't hit me.
Bhíidir siúd a bhí ag tacht chua hain san ospidéal ó ghartathe scábhóga agus dó omlán anólach ar scála na tragóide.
I think I was on the recovery and a priest came in and he approached me and he just said, "What's your name?" I said, "I'm Anthony Keegan." And he said, "Oh, that's right." He said, "Your 2 sisters died in the fire." And I said, "No, they didn't." He said, "They did." And I said, "They didn't." I said, "Mary's in the matter and Martina's in the maid." And he said, No, he said, "They're buried now." And I just went hysterical. I screamed the place down. And I said, "No," I said to them, "No." But my mother and father had been told not to say anything because of the condition I was in. I said, "How many more?" I said, and my father said there was quite a lot.
Agus an pobl a géirigh tachtaníir ar an bhris, taringíoch order an bhirgnamh, halla rinke a chóirithe ó bhannacha sibhe cúpla bliain réime sin. Lean fisrachán na ngordaí agus fógraíoch bínse fisrathe.
The government inquiry into the fire will have to examine a number of important issues. The allegations being made by a number of witnesses who were in the club on Friday night that they noticed someone setting fire to seating. Were all the emergency exits open at the time of the fire? These and other questions will have to be answered.
Agus ráflíigh scape maidir le cúis na tine, ordaíoch ceistena. Cén fágur deacardach díag an irid an daoine éilú ón bhuirig an bhlasrach.
The truth will come out. Yeah. I know what the truth is. and it's very serious.
Well, and what about the doors? Were they all open?
All
or closed?
open, every single door in the place was open.
So you're saying categorically all the exit doors were open?
Categorically, all the exit doors were open.
I see.
Everything will come out. When this inquiry, that's what the inquiry is for. And the truth will come out. That's all I'm interested in, is the truth.
Bhí an bhíonse fisrathe site leistigh de sí seachtaí.
Sílim gran muintear na tíre sás na goiteine nuair a bunaíonn fistrachan go tapí caithfar a chinse agus cinteáin fistrachan nach dar le head a ríist.
Bhar bíonse fisrathe cín ar bhaid ciad sa fethe dó lá, dé sé le féanaise ó tíchead ag sa seaca tíí né. Ina bhreithúna sa fáil siach an 1982, bhí sé déanar na tepanna a bhí ar bhórdas blá clia ina measc, asnamh sa réalacha planála agus sa chiigeireacht planála. Cánach an Ryan cóhíil de bhór neamhnúlacht na seirbhísí dótán agus aspa tréanála sa bhriga dótán. Cháin sé leis únéirí agus locht banistíochta an Stardust féin.
Dúirt cín go bhétá an láthair sin a glána taobhiste de gáóméid go le, domara ag greibh na dóirsí ar fad insanáid ceart, oscailte, agus dá méid is ag an furan cad le déanamh. Fuair amach greibh doras amháin faoi glas ina omláin, greibh gádoras eile cé nach raibh siad faoi glas nach bhéit bhí iad oscailt tuis go raibh rudaí chuiristachartha. Agus bhí dóirsí eile go raibh sláiríartha ag choratha go raibh siad faoi glas. Ná ní raibh siad faoi glas, ba ceapá go raibh siad faoi glas. So chuirse sin muile ar gach aine.
Rinne tuairisc chuirsíos an chuimseach ar Eilean Stáit, ar lochtainna an dlí, ar lochtainna planála, ar lochtainna ciigeireachta agus ar lochtainna sa bhrigáid tine. Mar hampla rud bunasach a léirise, nach ra íalach ar na batteries, plán a chur ar fáil don bhrigáid tine, agus go mé chisacha céim sort legan amach a bhí ar a bhrí le tíbhistí, sin ólas nach raig an bhrigáid tine a bachóir a haca, agus fáilí an tortin ar go leorlór bailí a léirú go géir agus go thomláin i dúirisc an bhíonse fisrathe.
Cé go réalaigh bíonn sé cín go raibh na húnéirí agus an Stáit lochtach a réan ar líon na marimh. Bhí scialta na bhínéithe faoi cén áit agus cén fár thostaigh an tine ag tacht slachar chéile. In anón sain chóirle agus fisrachan, fós ní raibh an bhíonse in an bonús na tine a aimsiú, agus réalaigh an dreibh cín.
Nevertheless, it is the view of this tribunal that the origin of the fire was in all probability arson.
Hégan úirt trí nach raibh éon fianaise ar chorbe ar conas na chosnaigh an tine seag. Tháinig sé an túram gur dosníocht dain gan é, in aspa fianaisna. Agus dar nóí chuir sé seo isteach go mór ar na clín, ar siúd a bhar as agus clíní siúd ar fuórbás. Mar cílaigh sé sin gur duine éigen a bhí ann an ihe sin a chosnaigh an tine seo. Agus ní ra bhéint fianaise faoi sin.
My father said probable arson. He said, how is this happening? Arson, he said. The blame on us, he said. And Butterley was to blame for taking the shortcuts. Dublin Corporation for giving him the planning permission. And also the Department of Environment. The whole lot was responsible for the deaths of my two sisters and all the rest of them victims.
Chéalaigh an tora go dóthaí gur lásach an tine go máilíseach, gur raibh clán Butterley in níosábal a cúte bhfuil ar go chóirlachún de á clia, do go máistí máilíseacha ar láthir an Stardust. Brunach nach mór 600,000 púntartha. Ach ní éitoch tailig Stardust a hiiscint, cén fá nach raibh imachtaí dlíthúla á donscnamh i le bás agus gortú a glán agus a gorde.
Reckless negligence leading to death is the basis for the charge of manslaughter in Irish law. In the light of the conclusions of Mr. Justice Keane as quoted, we have sent the following letter to the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Eamon Barnes.
Ordaíoch ceisna go náisiúnta chomh maith, cén fá nach raibh éana cúise i lena tine.
Brian, I just finished this, please. The situation is that it was probably caused by malicious action.
Minister, the Justice said in his report there is no evidence of an accidental origin and equally no evidence that the fire was started deliberately. He only talked about probability. And he talked about the certainty of the irresponsibility of the owners and their responsibility in regard to the death, irrespective of how the fire happened.
True.
Do you take the view now that there should be a criminal prosecution?
That's a matter for the Director of Public Prosecutions. It's not for me, and it would be totally improper for me to make a comment on that.
Ní léon freigra againn céim fáin ar cuaisig aine os córna cuairteanna carúla maidir le seo. Tá daoine anamnathe i tuairis cín go bhhéadfaí cúisimh a chur ina le. Beidir gur bé tuis gan meascán de cúiseanna a bhí leis an tragóid. Cé nach raibh sé riomh soléir chuna san thosaigh an tine. Bhí cín soléir faoi seo, nar a bheith an tine an cúis leis na báisina in áiríomh, bé an meascán de rudaí. Agus beidir gur bé sin an fáin ar curach. But ní hiag an fós céim fáin ar curah in cúisimh maidir leis na bhailí techniúla, like na brisí techniúla ar an slí a bhí dampa intanát i le únéirí na háite agus freisin I fiigh I mór de sa clia, agus bhí fine se maidir le sin.
Sna seachtaí agus na míana a lean, bhranna gailta gradar licithe in Narúd. Thógad ar cásan na cúitimh a gcuine an chailúnt agus gartathe a bhí fallingtecha, ach bhí muoilethe sa chuairt. Bhain idir cisteach an brúachair ar an rialtas clúas a thuairt dá gud éileh.
And I make no apologies for looking for compensation for my seriously injured child.
Correct.
No apology whatsoever.
That's correct. And that's what I want to hear. Anita.
There is people, parents at the moment, that suffer from nervous breakdowns. The whole behaviour at home, mothers and fathers can't speak to each other. The strain will have to stop. This thing will have to be finished once and for all. And that's the end of that.
The days turn to weeks, the weeks turn to years. Our laws favour the rich, so it appears.
Thug an táránní Christy Móracha takeíocht an gás, nuair is scríg sé árán faoi Shragóid an Stardust dá album Ordinary Man. Ach cheirigh Christy dúirthain lena chud lyricí. Ciúntaíoch é I le díos beag a cuairte, mar go raibh implachtaí dlíthúla ag an árán ar chásanna a bhí fós sa túl. Ní tugach mórán éine os cur cuairte maidir le tinna Stardust, ach tugach Christy. Cheap na tailig go raibh dead le na dréal an 1985, nuair a bhanig an taoiseach Garrett Fitzgerald bíonn sé cúitimh, le gan íochadíist airgid leo siúd a gartaíoch sa tinne, agus le tailig na níbertach.
I think there's a lot of practical sense.
Ach I ghlacha le cúitimh ó mínse, bhíidir gur dead le na gart é an chás eile dlíthúla hógant in ag na tragóide. De ghlach golóracha leis an gine sin.
People were afraid back then. Like, you had a solicitor saying to you, I think you're better off going with this compensation. You're not going to have the high costs and the risks that's involved with a court case, because if you lose, you'll have to pay. And if you can't pay, you could lose your home.
It was never about the money to begin with. Like, to sustain injuries that I sustained, there's no money you can compensate for it. My father at the time was dead set against it. He didn't want me to settle. He always said that they're just dangling the carrot on the stick. He says you should really take them to court and go down that route. But I didn't, and you can't have regrets. You can't live in the past, because that's just nowhere for you. Because if I was to regret that, I wouldn't move on with my life, you know? And I have to do that.
Ins na blianta ó hinna le, tá go leor do Ghaelta Stardust leanta leis an bheachtas chun carta a gáil dó siúd a sciobach sa losca is dó in 1988. Cimeád na planan na Ferber agus an spéis gnó sa láthir síomh na tragóide ina chnámh spáirna de locht na hagóide, go háirithe ar lácha mór a Valentine.
It's an indictment on our government that it hasn't given to anyone that lost children a closure that they wouldn't need to express themselves in this way.
Tar éis blianta I man feachtais, tharla dulchan cín suantasach in eanar 2007, nuair a bharrtaigh an rialtas tástáil DNA a dhéanamh ar chuigear a déag, curtha gan aithne. 6 bliana is fichid, téist ó bheith sínta sa flotta cíanna. Tí na blianta chimead ord na meán cásan Stardust a gcuine na naine, san áibh drama conspóideach comisiúnathe ag RTE.
Both of them? No, Jesus, no. Don't say that! Don't say that!
Agus clárdacha ag primetime a chur féanna sin nua agus sanála sa láthir a bhí bailithe ag na tailig.
Well, if you thought the Stardust disaster was history, then think again.
Chágan nuacha an chlár cóirí ceiste Annalise vonú na Ngordaí agus thoirí bhíonn sé fiosrutha an rialtais.
If you have the location of the fire wrong, you are looking at a totally different fire.
Faoi dheire I míúil 2008, tar éis díon bhrú os na Gaeilge, dógur an tíiseach Bertie Ahern go manófaí inúcha nebsblach chun an fianna sin nua a bha, salar dóg bhí an cinenne fiosrúchan nua a chur sa tiúl.
Tréis don ácóide Paul Coffey a chuid taide a dhéana agus inúcha dhéana go nebsblach. Chur sé tuairisc bhráid an rialtas dúirt sé fech ní léir domsa goil fianna seán a thiúrach takeíocht do isrúchan nó, ní donna goil dóhan fianna se nó an. Ach dúirt sé freisin gur chóir réiteach a bhaib uafásacha dag an chéadhhain sé fiosrutha a chur a bhaim gan bhfuil gur chóir don rialtas a rá sa dáil fech níl éanis an a chruthach gur a duine be a bhí sa Stardust an ihe sin freigrach as an dóitán.
Dú réir má hiiscinte bééis seo an céadúir is starna tíre seo gur cearttííoch tuairisc ó bíonn sé fiosra. Seo an céadúir agus an tainúir gur tharla sé seo. So is bu mór é seo de Muintir Stardust gur éirí gló an finding seo a chur le taobh.
Every obstacle that got in our way, we fought back against it, and we were determined that we were going to get justice for the 48 victims. And we feel things can only get better now for us.
Over the moon over it, I can't stop crying. I'm just delighted that we've got justice for our children.
Tar éis an bhreithúnas gur dóthaí gur lasach an tine go málaí se chur namhnaí, bhí cúis ceiliúra agus siúd a bhíag tríd chomh fada san na Níorne. Ach bhí go leor go díomach nuair tugach le fios a dúiris Paul Coffey nach raibh go leor fianna se ann chun an cása a is rú.
I felt let down. I just felt that we've so much more evidence now. Surely we can get a proper answer at this stage. It's good to get probable arson removed. But then what caused it? How did it happen? You know, who's accountable? You know, people need closure so they can move on. These people need answers and they do need them. But I don't know if they'll get them in my lifetime.
Na daoine seo a bhí hena féin críomhrichte, caithfidh go bhfuil sé có frustrating sin. Níl freagraíocha agus níl freagracht. Agus sé an rud atá ann inis ná seans má nach méríomh, mar tá sé tá nómarcha am cailte agus tá nómarcha den rudaí a bhí ann ag an am cailte inis. Go minic tepan ar an chóras tlí ceart na féin a thuirt do dhaoine, agus go minic tepan sé ar freagraí a thuirt do dhaoine. Bríonn sé go hanamh I roinnt cásanna, but stáilm sa gur seo ceandas na cásanna inar hep ar an chóras tlí.
Seocha bliain tar éis tine lá éile Valentine sa Stardust, tá roinnt a bhainte na níobartach fós am an feachtais chuna garta a bhaint amach. Tá ag leraga is rú ar an tine. Tá ó gás a thuirteach ag an chuirt Eorpach chearta déana, agus tá sé de gimpéad an stáit, leiscéal ifigiúla gabhailthe.
Sílim go nachraíonn gach córas tar éis tubaiste agus darraíonn córas sa tíir seo an teirbhís dóiteán mar hampla. Ach cuimhnaí ar na seancheisne a chuir an gachdaine faoi gach fiosrúchan mór, a bhfuil aon duine chur a brísú níl, a bhfuil aon duine ar garú fiáil artha níl, a bhfuil aon duine treis a fosta chaimint maiall ar tharla níl. Sin mar tharla sa Stardust agus go dtí go mbeidh tora fónta siléir díon a gás daoine bhí freigrach as fáilí nó as rudaí nar chóir a tharla agus a tharla, mar a dárlaíonn sin ní féidir rágur ólamúid na ceachtainna ba chóir ólam.
St. Valentine's Day comes around once a year. All our thoughts turn to love as the time it draws near.
It's coming up to the 30th anniversary now, and it seems as though it only happened yesterday. We feel that we have been forgotten. We feel we've been abandoned. They were our brothers, our sisters, our loved ones. They had a right to life, and their right to life was taken away. And we'll explore every single avenue till we get justice.
The 48 children that never came home.
30 years on, you're not going to stop fighting?
No. I could never do that, my sisters or my father. I could never do it. I'd never abandon them.
But the injured were abandoned year after year. Seems our leaders shed crocodile tears. compensation and legal fees paid to the barristers and Butterlees. But then popping 3 Cabra, Coolock and Artane, the promises were broken, the help never came. Days turned to weeks, weeks turned to years, our loss favour the rich, or so it appears. A mother still waits for her kids to come home. Injustice breeds anger, and that's what was done. Let us remember the suffering and pain, the survivors and the victims of the fire in our town. Mothers and fathers forever to mourn the 48 children that never came home.